Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is Visokii Movies and / everything else here today. Visokii Entertainment here with another movie review for you. This is the Birds of Prey spoiler review. So just a quick warning to everybody. We do these on every one of these. If you have not seen the movie, we're not even going to do the crappy little 1 minute reviews that at the beginning because it doesn't accomplish anything for you. If you want to see this movie, you'll like it. If you don't really care about this movie, it might not be for you. But hey, that's not the thing. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about what we liked about this movie. So that's what we do on this channel. If you're new to this, go back and check out our Game of Thrones reviews. You'll be like, what? But anyway, yeah. So, anyway, so just before we get into really deep into the actual spoilers, though, we do want to do a little brief. Just what were some things that you just really liked about this movie, Charlie, that we don't have included in our list of topics, and you just want to hit
the
really
violence?
Yeah,
loved the violence of this. I was expecting, there to be some badass violence going on. Not this level. Definitely not the level we got. I was.
So we are bad movie reviewers. We didn't even realize that the movie rating had been bumped up because I remember hearing about this movie being PG-13 or potentially being PG-13. So I had no idea we were going into a rated R movie. Go figure. The first rated R movie we see this year is a comic book movie, but right. it is what it is. What it is, But and it's funny because I think the only rated R movie I saw last year was no, I think A Quiet Place was. Anyway, not the point. But no, Quiet Place is anyway. Who cares? But by the way, I saw the trailer for the next one of those. I don't know if you saw that movie, Charlie. The next one looks awesome. But anyway, not the point.
Oh, it's gonna be a banger.
This technically counts as part of this review because I saw it as a trailer for this movie. So yeah, there was a couple of good
25 minutes of shit that you get.
Yeah, actually, and there was 8 minutes of good because I got to see the Tenet trailer and cold open again, so that was cool. But but let's actually get into this movie. But speaking of that violence you were talking about, it was really startling to me in some places, how just brutal this movie actually turned out to be. And it's not something I feel like you could probably take a 13-year-old to this movie still, but younger than that, you might have a problem. Because it is a pretty violent movie, and in places you wouldn't expect it to be. There's whole sequences of just people getting killed, which is crazy. You're like, wait, what? There's a comic book movie. It happened.
There's so many people dying in this movie.
So many, more than you expect for sure when you're going in.
Absolutely.
But yeah, speaking of which, so we pegged that one of our first topics as the opening sequence of this movie, which
yes,
the truth is I don't know where that really. So when you go and see this movie, you're going to be like, what do you mean by the opening? Exactly. Because it's kind of a mishmash of different scenes that kind of tell us a story that takes you into the beginning of the movie. I didn't look up the term, but there's a term where they talk about starting in the middle of the story. Actually, one of the shows I'm watching right now just did an interesting arc that they started on the show where they did the same thing. They're kind of telling what happened previously in various scenes, but it becomes relevant to the plot instead of explaining all that at once and then moving on or whatever. Which is an interesting way of storytelling because it can either backfire really hard or it can work really well for you depending on what you do with that information you're giving and how you choose to go about doing it. But this movie, I enjoyed so much about the opening, but the first thing I want to talk about is the way that they handled because the big question going into this movie was, okay, so what is the Suicide Squad's relevance to this? When does this actually take place? How long after? What's the deal? How is the Joker going to be involved? Because clearly the Joker is going to have to be involved. We saw Suicide Squad. And they do all of that in pretty much one scene, and that leads into another scene, a couple of other scenes, really. They eventually do play back later into the movie, admittedly, but for me, what I think I was hoping for was an actual explanation as to why there's not going to be Jared Leto in this movie, or at least a version of the Joker in this movie. And they just kind of throw that out, which is fine by me because I don't think I really wanted to see Jared Leto as Joker again, if I'm being honest. So they made the right call there, in my opinion. But Charlie, what did you think about just the opening of this movie leading up to the giant Ace Chemicals factory exploding?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing we see, it's animated. It's animated. I was not expecting that, and when they do this animated thing, they kind of set. I really like this for a couple reasons. A, it's different. I thought that was so damn cool, and B, it kind of set the stage. It kind of set where we're at in Harley Quinn's mind a little bit. She really said, yeah, the Joker, we're done for good this time. And it was kind of, the beginning of the movie was kind of asserting that she's,
Yeah, the whole opening
sequence
had him
as protection the entire time. That kind of sets up all, our main focal point, if you will.
Yeah, well, and the interesting thing is, it's so Harley Quinn to tell the opening of the story and like in like a like a cartoon type of animation, which just makes sense.
I
Um,
could not imagine another live action actor playing Harley Quinn outside of Margot Robbie.
yeah, no,
She's
it just
just
makes too
so
much
good with
sense.
it.
She's perfect. Like I thought she was perfect for the role when they cast her initially because I think I forget what it was I had seen her in before. Was I just previously seen a movie that had her in it, I think, and I was like, she's a good actress, but why not? And
Yeah,
only prerequisite for being Harley Quinn is that your natural hair color is blonde, and you can change that in a movie anyway. So it really is just being a semi attractive woman who can act is basically what you did to be Harley Quinn, and she nails it. Not semi attractive. I'm not saying that part, but like whatever. Not we're not getting into all that here, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed how they kind of you're hearing it from she's the narrator of the whole movie, so you
yeah.
get you
It's
don't
all
know if you
through
can
her.
trust half of what you're seeing, but on top of that, it just makes it more fun to see what she's actually doing. Like, and because Harley's such a ridiculous character anyway, half of it could be true anyway, and you're just like, yeah, that makes
It
sense.
makes
That
sense. Yeah, yeah, it
yeah,
makes sense.
it makes sense. She would do that. She would go out of her way to do something ridiculous for no. Yeah, when she would. So it's like, yeah, I love a not trustable narrator. That was kind of the vision I had in my head, was her telling this story from her perspective, and you don't know if you can really trust it per se. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, like it's funny because I really had so much hype going into this movie, and I thought for sure that was meant it was going to be because of how much hype I've had for previous DC movies that it was going to not be able to deliver. But Shazam in this movie have delivered for me in all the best ways. So
Oh
yeah,
God, yeah. So
so
yeah, something we wanted to hit was we want to hit a couple scenes that really stuck out to us that we picked before we hopped into this video. And also, guys, we haven't talked about each other to this. We've been waiting to do this while we got on the video, just so we get our own reactions.
I want it to be raw for y'all.
Something we wanted to talk about was the locating Cassandra Cain scenes, and kind of how this is where our story really gets going here.
So many
We
things for me
we've
to talk about here. Oh my gosh.
I
So
thought this
go ahead.
the action scenes. Oh my God, man! And even when Cassandra looks up and helps her, and you know these these are badass scenes. And go ahead, you want to hit on your scene that you really
So
liked about this?
yeah, so this actually is split into two separate scenes because they go back and tell a little bit of pre-story for some of the stuff. Because like, there's when
Yeah.
this scene first opens up, we don't actually know what she's doing. She's just breaking into this building after one thing gets said. We've seen this character a few times, so we know who she's going after, but we don't know what the reasoning is. And then you go back and get the backstory about what the reasoning is, which is really, it's kind of whatever. It's just a heist plot on like with like a car chase, mixed in basically, which is cool because you've had movies like that that have been awesome. The one I was trying to think of is there's like a movie with Jason Statham where he drives around as like a hitman or something protecting people or whatever. And I can't, people are going to tell me what that movie is in the comments, I'm sure. But like, that movie sucked. Why are you bringing that up here? But it just gave me vibes of like that when I saw the trailers for that, what I thought that movie would be. And like, I love a good car chase movie. I mean, most comic book movies kind of avoid it now because it's been done so much because, you only had cars. You didn't have like, you could animate like Quinjets back then. So you had to just do car chases and stuff like that. But it felt like half a reference to that and half of a reference to just those kinds of movies that are good. And this scene to me brought in what I consider to be one of the coolest weapons in comics, which is that little gun she uses that's like shoots the gas canisters, basically.
That was so Harley Quinn to a T, man.
Absolutely. And I believe it is actually a comic book thing. I can't confirm that because I don't know for sure, because it might have been something that came out of a video game or something like that eventually made it, because sometimes comic books tend to do that. A lot of times something will happen. It'll go into a movie or a TV show or a video game, and then it'll show up in another one of the movies later on because it was popular or whatever. And it's associated with that character. I don't know where that falls along those lines, but it was super cool seeing her just going around being an actual, because in the comics she's always able to fight people way bigger and stronger than her for no reason. And I thought that would be so hard to capture her being able to actually be like fighting on the level of a superhero in this movie. But they just do it, and they just you buy into it because they make it believable enough. And the way they like, it's not just like, there's a couple of times where she gets taken advantage of or beaten down in this movie, and she has to learn how to fight for herself at this point, because the whole, like we said, with the whole narrative of this movie is her being protected by various people throughout the movie, and seeking that even at the up until the end of the movie, until she's inspired by the women around her that she sees being independent and stuff like that, which is cool. But anyway,
the action scenes in this whole learning who Cassandra Cain is, and the fights, whether it's, let's just talk about it. This kind of leads us into our next thing we're going to talk about is the cinematography, really, of the movie.
Yeah.
The fight scenes. So we get this badass scene in the police station, and then she's going into the jail cell. The sprinklers are off, and then she's got to beat all these dudes' asses while she's like soaking wet. And they get so many badass camera shots, like when she slides and like breaks the dude's ankle.
And I'm pretty sure in a lot of those shots it was Margot Robbie. It did not look like a stunt actress. I mean, that could have just been good filmmaking, but I think she did a lot of the stuff practically. Like, I mean, like
they honed in really. You can tell, man. They took their time and they wanted these fight scenes to look good, and I think they fucking nailed it.
Yeah, no,
that one had to be an F-bomb. Come on.
It had to be. No, hey, listen, if that's not what you're looking for on here, we can't monetize our videos anyway, so it's not like they're gonna. It's not like we're gonna. Yeah. We're not. What are they gonna do? Demonetize a video that can't make money? Yeah, what anyway? You know, but like, I'm just gonna look up and see if they've said who. I didn't pay attention enough during the credits because I was just waiting until the end. But excuse me, sorry about that, folks. I'm trying to look up and see who did the stunt choreography for the movie.
It was done so well, and just kind of the vibe you get from the entire movie while you're looking that up. It really, God, it soaks you in right away. Like you feel like you're in Gotham, and you get the like, oh my God, I think this is such a well done. I almost want to use the term universe. Like they kind of soak you into the universe, and they really fill you in with it, with the atmosphere and the characters.
Yeah. So it looks like it was done by Joe Valera, who is a fight choreographer. So that's the person we were talking about there. And then Jonathan Jojo Eusebio. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's but people will know who I'm talking about. And that was the guy who was the stunt coordinator. So those guys obviously did a really great job, putting together the set pieces in this movie. One that I want to hit on when we're talking about this, some of the best cinematography in the whole movie is in. Actually, we have a topic for that, don't we? Never mind. We'll get to that. But yeah, there's a final fight sequence that has a lot of insane shots in it. I won't go into the specifics of those now because we're going to get to that, like I said. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, actually, you just want to jump into that now since I brought it up.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's talk about Act 3 in general.
Act 3, yeah. So the whole thing comes together here. You finally have the Birds of Prey kind of coming together as this faction. The Gotham City Sirens are officially a thing. And
I felt like it was rewarding when they all came together.
Absolutely.
Like you're waiting for it.
They didn't just have them halfway through the movie like, oh, we need to work together to get this bad guy.
It never felt forced once, and I think that's such a genuine thing that they needed to hit. Because if these guys, or if these ladies, 10 minutes after 10 minutes into the movie, they're best friends. No, we're an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 10 minutes into this thing, and they're finally like
most of the movie's
meeting.
Over. And then they just finally get together. Yeah.
We're knowing all their stories, and they're finally clicking together. And I think
let me just talk about the brilliance of the way they did that. The reason why it was so rewarding, Charlie, was because these people have not interacted but a few times throughout the entirety of the film. So when they finally crash together in this final sequence where all this violence happens again, well, you get because we'll talk about that because the way they finally meet up is they all are trying to find they're all trying to get this person at the same time. And it just so happens that Huntress is also trying to kill somebody that's in that area at the time. By the way, the way he did her character as having a completely separate mission of this entire movie and just being kind of mysterious, I thought was really well done.
I thought it paid off so well.
It was so much anticipation because then she finally it's like, I've done this. They call me the Huntress or whatever, and it's like, wow, that was actually really brilliant. You finally get some payoff from that. There was you didn't know what she was doing in the background the whole time until the very end. And then you get all that explanation at once.
I can't wait to watch it again. I feel like I gotta watch this again.
Well, thinking about that stuff in mind, thinking about every time you see her, you're like, oh my gosh, she's gonna come in and what she's doing. This is why she's doing all the things she's doing. Because when you first meet her, you don't know why she was involved in any of what just happened. But it just ended up messing over, effing over. I'll say since you already dropped the one. Otherwise, we won't be able to keep our PG-13 rating. Haha. But anyway, but seriously though, I just think when they finally come together and they all have different reasons for being there, independent of each other, and most of them contradict each other to a degree. I mean, the only people that would presumably work together would be the two that already were on the with Rosa and Black Canary, and Huntress and Harley Quinn's goals probably would have lined up. So I mean, they may not have worked
Huntress
together.
Is trying to kill Saz, and Harley Quinn is trying to get some money and she doesn't want to be followed anymore. And the other two are just kind of trying to, in a way, protect Cassandra Cain.
Ultimately, all their goals do kind of line up into some degree because they all get what they wanted out of the situation to one point. and and Harley gets her money at the end. So it's like, but I think the fight sequence inside the funhouse is one of the most insane fight sequences that I've ever seen. There's so much, like, yeah, you might be like, oh, it's a gag, or they're going all over all the things, but no, like, that is just an interesting place that you would never expect to see a fight scene in a movie at all. It's just so out of place, like, and it works so well because you're like, oh my goodness, like, all the shots in here are extra creepy because of all the weird clown stuff around, and it's almost like it's a perfect place for Harley Quinn to finally come into her own, and all the rest of the characters, like the one scene where they're all going around individually protecting Cassandra. Is her name right? Yeah, I mean, like,
yep.
And they're all like grabbing, you're like, oh, here, get down. Yeah, that to me is what superheroes should look like in a film when they're saving somebody. That was like genuine. You never get to see, every time they've tried to force in a scene of a hero saving one individual person to try and make them look more like personable to the audience or whatever. This to me is what that should be, because that they genuinely care about saving just one person from all this craziness going around Gotham City, Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, Gotham City was portrayed extremely well in this movie. Yeah.
The world, like, we're going to mention it real quick. The Joker, the cinematography of Joker, it was so well done. And this was different. And it was so well done in a different way.
But I can tell that they exist in the same place, though. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. It's the same thing, but I was
just
mind blown by it.
One is a unique following one person's story in like almost a character study in a way for the Joker, and then the other one is this sort of like pseudo character study of Harley Quinn and the rest of these characters, but they all have such different motivations, and it's all no one has a good motivation in this except for Black Canary. She's the only real. Which is in the comics how all this lines up anyway, because Huntress is also a criminal in the comics. So it's just like...
Speaking of Black Canary, let's take us to this, another part of this fight.
Oh my goodness.
We get teased of her singing because she breaks Ronan's glass.
Mm-hmm.
She breaks his glass.
Yep, they
saved this, man. Dude, Act 3 was...
And there were so many times where they teased
it. I'm liking it even more. I'm liking it even more talking about it now.
Absolutely, because there were so many times in fights where you're like, man, she'd be able to get out of this in like 2 seconds if she just used, the sonic ability or whatever. But she doesn't need it.
I don't know. I'll be honest. I really didn't see it coming, and I think that's what shook me so much more. She looks at Montoya, and when they looked at each other, I'm like, I started to get an idea, and then when she did it and lace all the fuckers out, I'm like, oh my, I was all in.
Yeah, no, and I was so worried of how it was going to look in the CGI, like how they were going to do it. And it looked fine. It didn't look great. They only had it for one scene in the movie, so I'm not that worried about it because it just needs to look like what you're trying to get across, which is the sound thing, which everyone kind of gets it. It's the voice. They tell you early on it's your voice, but you don't know what it's actually going to do. Oh, podcast. What's going on? Get out of here. Bye. But anyway, yeah, the cat showed up the cat wanted to give a review. The cat didn't go to the movie, though, so it's probably just going to give it a bad review. But
are you pissing on my shoe there, kitty?
Apparently. But anyway, that aside though, like this sequence was so well put together, and the way they cap it off with that at the end, and because you're like, at the end, you're like, well, they're out of bullets. What are they going to do now? They still have one weapon, that it is so well done that they use that also as like a weird way for it to propel Harley forward to go into like car speed, which is hilarious. And and then she uses the other car. The chase scene. So this is what I've been talking about the whole time when I talk about chase movies being involved. The final sequence is basically one giant chase scene after the big fight happens. So, and it honestly is it's so Harley Quinn that she's going on literally a pair of roller skates in this chase scene. Oh
like, my god,
yeah. And like it just and the ending sequence and all and so it all leads to this ending sequence in this like smoke filled pier that's like falling apart with all these statues of like I'm assuming great people of Gotham's history or something like that.
It must be, yeah.
And they pull the gag of wasting the last bullet on like on the statue or whatever, and that's funny and all, but like you're like, well, what now? What's gonna happen now? But they subtly planted something into you when they were arming up at the beginning of this scene. You see Cassandra grab a grenade.
We've seen her stealing stuff all movie, and it's I thought it was
absolutely.
What do you think of I think they had to kill off the character of
a black mask. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
All the stuff that he does in this movie, all the awful things he does.
Set up the future of it now, because if they kept him, I can see where people are going to be like, "Oh, how could you kill off Ewan McGregor?" It's like, I think he had to in this.
I don't think he's probably that upset about that either, because he's just loved being an actor in movies anyway.
I think it really helped. It fit the story, and it kind of fit that these are, the birds of prey. And you got Harley Quinn, and then Harley Quinn taking Cassandra Cain as her apprentice.
Yeah,
I thought she had this whole nother side of her that she's like this almost motherly figure.
Well, I didn't want to talk about this with you before because I knew they were going to hit on this in the movie. It is a big arc of Harley Quinn's in the comics where she grabs this group of girls and becomes a good person and starts helping out the heroes. So going forward, she's going to be a hero character. Idea. She's probably not going to be she'll probably still be villainous in some degree because she's still teaching her how to be a criminal and how to survive, because she sees that that's what the kid is, But yeah, I mean, and it's like, and you kind of understand why she does this because she was thrown out of her house too. There was crazy stuff going on in her house too. She had a pretty messed up childhood too, So she understands and empathizes with this kid. So you completely buy that based on what she tells you at the beginning of the movie. So in that opening sequence we mentioned. So, but yeah, I mean, I just really like the way this movie came together. And we've already talked about it a little bit, but let's get into the performance from Ewan McGregor in this movie. So I honestly... I did not expect him to just come out and steal another movie that he was a part of. Like he was like not the main character in the franchise of Ewan. Stop it. Other people want jobs too. Like, no, but seriously, it's, oh my goodness. Like this performance, like it's a simple character, right? Cause it's a simple movie. We talked about that before we came on here. It's a simply put movie that just hits all the right buttons that it needs to be a good movie, in my opinion. It is like, I don't even know how to describe, like, you have to just see this movie and understand, like, the first real scene you get with Ewan's acting by himself in this movie is the scene where the people are getting their faces cut off, the Golden Dragons cartel, like, criminal members. That's, by the way, when I figured out it was an R movie. I was like, oh, that's what we're doing here. He's just going to take the guy's face off. Okay.
So, he really, his partner, that Saz, he, the design that they did with him with the scars on his face and on his chest looks so good.
He looked intimidating. He was creepy, and I did not like the and I'll say rapey vibes he gave off.
Absolutely, he's meant to. I think he's meant to give off those.
Yeah, no,
for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely like the masculine, like overbearing thing. Yeah, like and especially that scene at the end with Harley. But anyway,
I think if you don't have an actor as good as McGregor, this character,
the rest of the characters don't come off as intimidating, right? He has to be a really
character. End up hating this guy. Like you're like, I hate him.
I liked him at first. I thought maybe he was going to be like a supporting character or something that helped you out.
Tweener almost.
Yeah, but he goes full bad guy the first time you see him alone. So you're like, okay, so this is going to be the villain of this movie, which we kind of knew going in, but I didn't know how they were going to play that because it's kind of she's a villain too. So like how, you know what I mean? And if she's telling the story, I thought that was actually what we were going to get. Like he wasn't actually a villain, but she was telling that from the perspective. But I love the way they went instead. They just went fully serious with it. And that made the plot seem a lot more, they had more weight to it because of that, in my opinion.
Definitely. Let's hit on some of the other performances. The birds of prey.
So we'll start here with one that I want to talk about first because this is like we hit on it earlier. So Huntress in this movie, the actress, I don't remember the actress' name. You said it earlier. What was it?
Kate Elizabeth Winstead, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. So and she like I said is not in very many scenes in this movie up until the end. I can tell about halfway through the movie she doesn't really become a main part of it until they reveal her part within the movie. But she plays the mysterious badass character extremely well in this movie. Like she doesn't have to say any lines until about halfway through the movie, because she's just her way her physical acting was. You don't even see her face until about halfway through the movie either. So it's like, it's very well done, and like I don't know if that was her actually riding the motorcycle, but if it was, that's really cool.
And she's also got like this dash of quirkiness, and there's layers to this character.
Because she's got like this weird backstory where she doesn't have like social skills really, because she was trained to be an assassin from a young age after her family was slaughtered. And during the power grab that we've referenced a couple times. By the way, the way that scene kept tying back into this movie for various reasons is just insane to me. And it even was tied in with the story of Rosa as well. I guess we can talk about her now because there isn't really much to talk about with Huntress. She's, like I said, she has a minor role in the movie for most of the part of it, but she does become a main character by the end. And I loved the acting performance. And like you said, the quirkiness at the end where she doesn't really get social graces because she grew up in a place where she was just an assassin. Like after it had a revenge plot as her whole thing. Yeah. Which by the way, revenge plots are always fun. So keep throwing those into comic movies, they always are fun, especially when you make a hero out of it at the end. She's like Batman, but if Batman actually got revenge on Jack Kirby, you know. But anyway, which we don't know, he might have. I don't know if the comic books are on that. So let's talk about Rosa though. So I don't know the actress that played Rosa, but I loved.
She's got the shirt that I shaved my balls for this, and I was laughing,
which is hilarious. I love that they had her wearing that shirt.
It's a great touch.
Yeah, because she's just like, yeah, whatever, I'll wear that shirt, you know. Whatever, you know, whatever. Like she puts off.
The actress is Rosie Perez.
Rosie Perez. I really enjoyed her in this movie. She had, like, again, another minor role in the movie, but her supporting role of just being like sort of a semi-antagonist to Harley, but also like not really caring what Harley does ultimately, because she just wants to nab a big criminal to save her career, you know, like, and ultimately her arc of overcoming the fact that she doesn't need to be a cop to feel powerful in Gotham, I think is pretty cool. And also,
there's
like,
a lot of different stories that played out, and that I feel like we got the fulfilling ending.
Yeah, and it was only like an hour and a half, or a little over an hour and a half. It was like 145 plus, like barely. Like
she had like the whole separate story of, you know, the background with the cop taking her job, and then, you know, her former partner turning her in. You know.
Yeah, and then the actress that played Black Canary. Now I don't know the name of the actress, but I'm a fan now. She is.
Yes, she is. She's one of the only actresses outside of Margot that were in the Birds of Prey that I knew going into this. I've heard of the names, Rosie Perez and Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah, I've heard both of those.
I hadn't seen any of them, but this is Journey Smollett Bell.
Okay, I had not heard of the name, but hey,
she's from my favorite show, Friday Night Lights, my favorite TV show ever. She was in that. That's still on Netflix. I wonder. I might have to give it a look, but it was for a while. It might be on Hulu now.
It's on one of the services for sure.
The rights constantly jumping from.
Oh well, yeah, I know they shifted who has them now because it's companies make money off of it. I'm sure, but anyway, the ones that own the movies rights or whatever, actually. But yeah, anyway.
Outside of the Harley Quinn performance, I think Black Canary was such a badass, dude.
Yes, and she doesn't even have to use the thing we talked about, the sonic power, until the end of the movie, and she's still like, that's what I was talking about when I said she doesn't need it. You're like, why isn't she using her powers here? She's like the most powerful of all the characters in this movie, like just purely. And the only one with a superpower. Truthfully, she's the only one that really had a superpower, which, by the way, made this movie feel so much more grounded that we didn't see that until the end of the movie. In the same way that Shazam can feel kind of whimsical in places because of how powerful Shazam is, you know, like, but like ultimately they neuter that by being a kid who doesn't really know how to use it. So, but in this, they just kind of can the powers for most of the movie and say, this is not what we're focusing on here. They could have gotten a villain that way. And and it was such a brilliant choice to go with a villain that didn't have superpowers also, because Black just a sick mask. Oh, I didn't even talk about it when we talked about you. And the mask that he had on, by the way, was so comic accurate. I loved that. And we didn't talk about Harley's dog, also comic accurate. Loved it. It was like a hyena or something like that, I think they called it. But I don't know what it actually is. It's like sort of like a demon hound kind of thing that she has that she got from somewhere, I'm sure. But like, I just reminded me of the scene where the dude that she broke the legs of in the beginning comes back and then gets hit by a truck. Yep. that is one of the craziest scenes. That's another one of those action sequences where it feels like one of those like Assassin's Creed kind of movies where they're just flying around on buildings and stuff, you know, like just for 1 second because of this crazy. And that's the dumb luck of like Harley Quinn and the Joker still playing to her. You know what I mean? Like, and they get that. It makes sense. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. She would survive that somehow. Like, you know, like everyone out to kill her. She just lives because Harley Quinn. That's why. But yeah, no, like, I did enjoy that performance from Smollett, or whatever the last name, Smollett Bell, was that her name? Yeah. She kills it. She plays this role that I don't even know how to describe what her character was. She's kind of the only like I'm the independent woman character, but it works so well because she's the only one that really personifies that. You know, Rosa is kind of this like she plays by the rules. She's like almost like a piece of the man's. You know, she's a piece on the man's chessboard. You know what I mean? She's a part of that. That's who she's kind of. You know. Harley's still tied to the Joker, even though she's not anymore, you know. Huntress is still tied to her revenge, you know. So, but the only person that's really purely independent, aside of being tied to Roman, you know, is Black Canary, because she still is pretty much given autonomy as the singer before she becomes the driver. And that's when she starts to realize that she needs to get out of that situation because she realizes that she's just a pawn to this guy, that she doesn't mean anything. And she, you know, like, I don't even know if he knew that she had the superpower, you know, like, so. I don't think he did. I think that she just kept that under wraps and like she only told them once they were like, you know, like about to fight people, you know, like. So Montoya, the character of Montoya definitely knew her mother
I had heard that mentioned in the movie.
Yes, that was.
She knew her
but I
mother,
don't know that
so
she
her mother
knew.
must have had the same power.
Maybe she did.
They communicated it to each other.
Her mother was Sindel from Mortal Kombat. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway.
Yeah. So, but they knew about it. So I'm assuming they had some history in that aspect. They definitely had some history together.
Yeah, no, she might have known. I mean, she probably shared it with her. If she came to her like that out of the blue and knew where she was and stuff like that, she probably was keeping tabs on her. So, I mean, she was probably like her mother figure at points in her life too, like so. But either way, that's still it doesn't have this movie doesn't have to make sense, and the fact that it doesn't in places just adds to the comedy of it. Like we didn't even talk about that. This movie's hilarious too. Like there are some gags in this movie that absolutely like if there had been, and I will say this, I was a little disappointed. There was not a lot of people in my theater tonight. But
mine was pretty stacked actually.
It might just be because it's like a work night, but I mean at the same time, it wasn't full for
I think word of mouth
Captain Marvel either.
Man.
Well, also,
word of mouth has to spread with this.
Captain Marvel didn't need word of mouth. It made like $1 billion anyway, and Captain Marvel was pretty empty when I saw it. So it's just where I live probably, but like. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, all the performances were fantastic in this movie, especially Ewan McGregor's. It was shot well. All the action sequences were put together extremely well. So this leads only to a couple of questions we have left, which, all right.
And one thing I want to hit on here, there was some, when you get a mixture of the violence and some of the camera shots that Harley Quinn gets, I would say I got some Deadpool vibes from Harley Quinn. There's a couple times she indirectly talks to the camera like Deadpool does, right? It's part of her character. And the violence and the comedy with it. This could be DC's Deadpool.
That would be awesome.
She could get to that level of popularity. It's R-rated. It's gruesome as hell. They got a guy cutting off faces. A kid against a snot rocket. So it's like, you know what? Her too. End her. Like,
I was like, they're doing that?
Yeah, you just sliced off the kid's face. I had some vibes from Deadpool in all the right ways. And I think I hope this movie is successful in the box office and they keep it going. And, we get this storyline continued. And knowing that we have Suicide Squad coming up and Wonder Woman 84, I mean, what the,
Yeah. What if the plot twist of all time is that Wonder Woman 84 actually takes place in the time frame of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker because it was in the 80s?
Absolutely.
Imagine. So, oh my goodness.
With this
Diana killed the Joker. Oh no.
Yeah. With this movie clearly being a success in both of our eyes, do you think DC's on a bit of a roll right now?
Absolutely.
Like last 4 movies, you got Aquaman, you got Shazam. You got Joker, which is not part of the DCEU, but it's a DC movie. It's a big comic book movie.
Oh, absolutely. People don't know the difference. Most of the people going to see these movies don't know the difference.
Exactly. And you got Birds of Prey. That's 4 badass movies.
And here's what I'll say,
Phoenix
right?
Might win Best Actor this weekend.
He could. It may very well will happen this Sunday. But I mean, okay, let me just hit on what you just talked about. Aquaman, first movie to make $1 billion in the DCEU besides Wonder Woman. I think, right? Maybe Justice League made that much, but that was.
I think Aquaman was the first, dude.
No, Wonder Woman. I think the original Wonder Woman made like $1 billion or something like that, but or at least close to.
Either way, it hit $1 billion, and no one thought it would.
Anyway, yeah, and it was also the first, pretty much critically fan liked by the DCEU. So. Besides maybe Man of Steel, which had some people, and I'm sure there were some Batman v Superman defenders, but anyway, not the point, Yeah, I mean, okay. And then you have what you were talking about with Shazam, which is the first just straight up success, that just comes out of nowhere. No one really knows what it is. It does the MCU thing where just the name alone sells it and people go see it and they like it. It doesn't make back the money you want it to make, but it's still a success because you did that movie and it made some money. So I don't know how they view that movie. That's why I'm kind of so on that.
They got a sequel to it, and they got the sequel, and they got Black Adam tied to it, so they like it. They clearly know.
They saw what they wanted to see from that because they've already made so much money from the other movies. Then you have the Joker, which just absolutely destroys, $1
billion
completely
movie.
Blows people's minds. It gets Oscar nominations, and that's something the MCU took till Infinity War to get serious Oscar consideration. I mean, sure there are some of the other movies won the same kind of award, and it still didn't even get serious consideration. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Black Panther was the only one that got Best Picture nominee, right?
Yeah.
So,
they I think Avengers probably won for like animation or something like that, or not animation, like CGI, like whatever that award is, like I forget what the visual effects award. Sorry, but which they may win again. Who knows? But like anyway, not the point. Like I really enjoyed this movie and all those movies, and now you have Wonder Woman 84 as your next release, and
then in 2021 we got Matt Reeves' Batman and James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
And there is serious hype for that Batman movie. People don't realize
Things
it, but
are looking up, man.
It is looking positive for the people that are going to turn out for that movie, especially because every time I see Pattinson in that Tenet trailer, I'm like, oh, the movie's going to be so good. It's got so many great actors in it.
If you guys have been watching our channel, or if you're new, Robert Pattinson is one of our boys. Kit Harington, one of our boys.
King of the North.
Like, we can't help ourselves. They're our boys.
Also, the real King of the North. We have, what is the Robert Madden? Is that his name? Yeah,
Richard Madden.
Richard Madden. I always get it
also in
wrong.
the Eternals.
Yeah, that's we're so hyped for that movie just because of those two castings alone. Plus,
the fact that those guys got cast on
that movie's
Marvel
so stacked.
and DC movies.
That movie is so stacked.
That's so nice.
It's such a stacked movie. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
so let's get into our rating of it, Garrett.
Yeah. So out of 10, I give this a 9. And I don't do that lightly. You know that. I mean, this movie hit hard for me. It was exactly what I wanted. I mean, like everything I wanted out of this movie, all the hype that I had going into this. You can go back to our videos from a year ago, and I was talking about how hyped I was for this movie. You can look at the video we did a few weeks ago where we talked about our most anticipated movies. Like, it's on my list. Like, there's a reason for that, you know? Like,
so you can definitely say it exceeded your expectations.
Absolutely, but it shattered them, and I had high expectations, so that's saying something.
Yeah.
And what about you, Charlie?
I'm with you. I had wrote it down on my phone as soon as I got out because I wanted to stick true to my, what my initial gut was right as I got out. 9 out of 10.
Awesome.
I really liked it. I was sitting there about halfway through, like, damn. And then we're getting to the Act 3, and I'm like, God damn. It's like, it's like
absolutely.
I was all in. And just for fun, because this is what we like to do. Where do you think this kind of ties into your DCEU rankings?
So I'll go from the bottom. Yeah, I'll start from 8. Suicide Squad, obviously for me, nothing redeemable about that movie except for now Margot Robbie. But the only thing that succeeded out of that was Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn.
And she is in the Suicide Squad movie in 2021. We know that.
I think even if she has a minor role in it now, she's gonna have a major role in it by then because there's so much time for them to change. And then I have Justice League at number 7 for obvious reasons, just a complete crap bomb of a movie. And at number 6, I have Batman v Superman. Because just didn't really enjoy that movie. I've talked with you extensively about how I feel about how they portray Batman in that movie. Love Ben Affleck's performance as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. Don't enjoy him killing everybody. Comic book nerd thing, sorry. But and then at number 5, this is probably the first hot take on my list. I have Aquaman at number 5. Really, really enjoyed that movie. Just everything else on this list above it, I enjoyed significantly more. At number 4, I got Man of Steel. That's a hot take. I love that movie. It got me so interested in this universe. When I didn't even know when I saw Man of Steel that it was going to tie into anything. But I was like, man, that was a good movie. I enjoyed his performance. I can't think of the actor's name that plays Zod in that movie. I loved his performance in it as well. Because people thought he kind of like hammed it up a little bit, but I loved that. It was so perfect for that movie. Because Batman and Superman villains don't need to be. There's a reason it's the Joker and Lex Luthor because Anyway, go ahead.
So already right away, we see Birds of Prey has cracked your top 3.
It has. It is my number 3 on my list. Nice. So Birds of Prey, it isn't better to me than these other movies that I have at 2 and 1, but Birds of Prey just snuck so hard in.
It's safe to say all 3 of these movies are very good.
Yes. And at number 2, I have Wonder Woman. This has changed. The last time I told you this list, it was different. Because Wonder Woman has grown less on me because of the third act over time. Because it kind of falls apart in the third act. Even though it's still a fantastic movie, the ending is kind of meh. But sets up some good stuff for later, though. And number 1, I have Shazam. It has grown on me so much since I saw it. And I haven't even watched it again because I don't want to ruin it for myself. That first experience of watching it in the theaters and then reviewing it. By the way, if you haven't seen our Shazam review, go ahead and go back and watch that after they're done with this one if you still want to see our thoughts on the DCEU. But it's just such a great movie, and screw what people say about Zachary Levi. I want him back. He needs to be Shazam forever.
Absolutely. I love the Shazam family. And so I'll run through mine. I'll run through the opposite. All right.
All right, start at one.
Number one, Shazam. I'm with you, dude. It's been my favorite since we got out of it. That being said, Birds of Prey is number two. And I really loved Birds of Prey, and there is consideration in my head. Could it top Shazam? Maybe time could tell. Maybe
I could agree. It could definitely take over Wonder Woman, because like I said, there are notable issues with that movie. It's just what I love what it did for the genre, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
That being said, Birds of Prey is a beautiful movie. And like I said, I gave Shazam a 9 out of 10. I gave this a 9 out of 10. And then at number 3, I got Wonder Woman. I mean, okay. I remember the first time seeing it, just like
first success of the DCEU, really, if we're being honest.
It really was, especially in terms of critic score.
Mm-hmm.
At number 4, I have Aquaman. I remember
it's Mimosa.
Aquaman. Yeah. I remember seeing the action scenes in that movie, and I was just like, wow. And then, hey, they're on the right path. Number 5, Batman vs. Superman. Number 6, Man of Steel. Number 7, Suicide Squad. And 8, Justice League. I mean, all those movies, you know, they definitely got the darker vibe to it. And, yeah, we're kind of moving away from those.
What I've noticed is the successful DC movies have had a positive spin on them in some way. Even Wonder Woman has got this sort of rising above all the men to become the real hero, you know, like, yeah.
How great would it be? All right, so say it's tomorrow, and they officially are like, you know what, guys, Henry Cavill is back, even though he's never left. He's back, and we're doing another Superman movie. What is your initial reaction?
My initial reaction to that would be, I want to see what they do. It better just explain why things have changed, right? Like, there should be, like, because they could always just cop out and say the multiverse is an alternate universe or whatever. But they need to explain what happened between Justice League and now. Like, that needs to be a focal point of whatever main next movie they do, that involves one of the 3 characters or 4 characters, 5 characters, whatever you want to say. However many of those are coming back, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think the one that's least likely, even though I want them to come back, is Cyborg, because even though he was probably the most stonking success.
We got the TV show, so.
Well, he may just never come back into the actual movies, though, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? By the way, he worked better in TV. If you haven't seen the Teen Titans cartoon from back in the day, that's why I love the character of Cyborg, because they portray him well in that, and it's fun.
And Doom Patrol's got like a following, man. People that like that show.
I kind of want to get the DC streaming service, or what streaming service is it that they have all the DC shows on? I can't remember.
Straight up called DC Universe.
I think it maybe
I think they will all be on HBO Max, though. The streaming wars.
Yeah, it happens. The deals happen where they're like, we'll fund some of this, but we want part of it. Like, it's like, I have a show that I pay like $7 a month to get like a week early, and the season of another show that I was one of the reasons why I kept the subscription, is now going on HBO Max first, even though they have their own streaming service, because they needed the money
exactly
for it. Which is fine, you know, it is a big budget. Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
guys,
it's such a good movie. Go see Birds of Prey if you have not.
Yeah, if you stuck with us all the way through this, thank you. First of all,
yeah, seriously, absolutely.
And comment. Let us know what you thought. We love
give us your rating in the
comments.
Yeah, give us your out of 10. Give us your top 8 DCEU movies in whatever order you think is what you like. You know, maybe you're a big Justice League stan. I haven't met many of you, but you're out there, I'm sure. Or maybe you really just enjoyed this movie. Yeah, we absolutely will. You know, if you don't believe us, check the other comments. We love talking with
everyone and getting everyone's ideas. You guys are seeing this on Friday. On Sunday, we have a fan cast of the upcoming Marvel MCU TV shows, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, we should be back with a movie review. When's the next one? Black Widow, I believe, right? Or Morbius, one of them.
Whatever it is in April, I think. But yeah.
So we will.
And if we see anything in between that time that we just think is worth talking about to you guys, that maybe not even in the comic book genre, you may just see us pop in there. But the next one you can definitely see us for is either Morbius or Black Widow, whichever comes first.
Absolutely.
Check our previous videos for those dates, because we had the right ones, I'm pretty sure. Go back a year ago. We were guessing the dates right then and getting them right, so you'll be fine. But anyway, thank you guys so much for sticking through us, like we said, and make sure if you like the video, like it and subscribe, and make sure you click that little bell so you know when we go live, and we will see you all at Morbius.